Hey there guys, so Anthony Joshua was recently on the podcast No Passion, No Point, hosted by Eddie Hearn, his promoter. Now, Joshua had this to say about his demeanour during the ring walk to the fight against Andy Ruiz Jr. at Madison Square Garden. I need to start taking this approach to my fights where I'm a bit more lively. I know I'm capable of it. There is too much at stake if I go in there where I'm switched on. A time like the Ruiz fight where I am so relaxed, that might be a difference. Also, when asked how he dealt with his defeat, Joshua had this to say: I think I had to grieve and ask myself all the questions you would expect. People say you lost, I call it a blip. I can't wait to get back in there and fight him. Every time I have fought a champion, I have risen to the occasion. So, Anthony Joshua clearly recognises the problems during the build-up to the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight. Obviously, the handing over of the belts wasn't great either. It just proved that he was letting his guard down, and the walk to the ring and his demeanour inside the ring before the fight began, clearly there was something up with Anthony Joshua. He was almost too relaxed, and it was obvious that he was suppressing maybe a few nerves. That is what I am getting from his statement. So if he was suppressing a few nerves, that is using a lot of energy also. So a lot of his mental energy is being taken up just so he can stay calm. And that's just one thing he doesn't really need to be worrying about, because again, it's just taking mental energy away from another aspect of his game. Now, if you look at a fighter like Carl Froch, you would think just by his demeanour that he's extremely confident and there is no worries for him going into the ring. Well, that's not the case. Carl Froch used to get extremely nervous before going in to battle, but ultimately, once he got through the first round, the nerves were gone and he'd settle into the fight. And what I believe that Carl Froch done was turn his nerves into excitement and energy. Nervous energy is not necessarily bad energy as long as you don't let it zap your physical energy, because clearly Anthony Joshua was suppressing his nervous energy, which again is never a good thing. You need to go in there with whatever energy you have and use it to your advantage. Some fighters can fight 12, 15 rounds in sparring easily, it's light work, but once they get in there in the ring under the lights in front of all those people, they can only last 3 rounds before they are extremely tired. Take David Price for instance. He can spar 12 rounds, he is in good condition, yet frequently when he gets under the lights in front of all those people, when he has an opponent across the ring from him, he has massive stamina issues, and that is just down to his nervous energy and self-doubt, because he's had some bad experiences in the ring before. So he is just questioning himself, and it was just that self-doubt. Can I actually do the full 12 rounds? Because judging by past experience, I can't. So once that is embedded in his head, that kind of causes some nervous energy, and he knows that he's going to be struggling from the mid-rounds going on. So once that mental block is there, it's very hard to break it back down. Now, David Price recently overcome this when he fought Dave Allen, but it was a fight fought mainly on his terms. So that allowed him to get past that mental block. Now, Anthony Joshua clearly put a mental block in place when he had that nervous energy, because he was suppressing it. But in the rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr., he just needs to allow the energy that he has to fuel his performance. As he said, he needs to not worry about suppressing any nervous energy or trying to stay calm. And any nerves or any doubts that he has in his mind, he needs to put to bed and use them to his advantage, not allow them to take his energy away. Now, obviously, Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting quite differently in the second fight, and I believe that he has to. Now, his trainer, Rob McCracken, has explained they will be trying to keep it long and keep Andy Ruiz Jr. away. Now, obviously, while you are doing that, then you are fighting a good game, you're keeping your opponent on the end of a jab, and things are going well. But at some stage of the fight, Andy Ruiz Jr. will close the distance and start landing on Anthony Joshua. It's a fight at the end of the day, and you can't go swimming without getting wet. So Anthony Joshua is going to be hitting this fight, and possibly he could get wobbled at some stages. But now he knows what Andy Ruiz Jr. brings to the table, and he will likely change his sparring to replicate that. Now I believe someone like Carlos Takam would be great for Anthony Joshua to bring into camp, because his style is very similar to Andy Ruiz Jr. He's a come-forward fighter, likes to fight on the inside, has fast hands and reasonable power also. And if Anthony Joshua can get used to being comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, which inside fighting seems to be slightly difficult for Anthony Joshua, if he can get used to that, then against Andy Ruiz Jr., it won't be so bad when Andy Ruiz Jr. closes that distance, because as I said, at some stage in the fight, he will. But Anthony Joshua just needs to be smart, tie him up, turn him, and get back to center ring. Now, obviously, Andy Ruiz Jr. will have more to bring to the table than just inside fighting. He'll also be counterpunching. That is what he done a lot last time. where Anthony Joshua was throwing out that jab, and it was from the hip, which he's never really done before, and he wasn't moving his feet, so he was falling over his front foot and allowing Andy Ruiz Jr. to counter. That was a big problem for Anthony Joshua in the fight, because when he threw that jab and leant over his front foot, Andy Ruiz Jr. would get a few combinations away and land about 3 or 4 punches to Anthony Joshua's 1, and that just meant that Andy Ruiz Jr. was chipping away at Anthony Joshua. What he must do in the second fight is step into that jab, not throw it from the hip, step into the jab so his feet follow, so he is not over his front foot, so that Andy Ruiz Jr. can counter. Also, if Anthony Joshua is stepping in with that jab and Andy Ruiz Jr. does counter, it will make it easier for Anthony Joshua to use his feet and use angles to get away and escape. Because once you fall over your front foot, then you are off balance and it makes it harder for a fighter to escape and recompose themselves. So Anthony Joshua in the second fight will have to be a lot more measured and wary of Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, Anthony Joshua has already shared the ring with Andy Ruiz Jr. So ultimately in the second fight, he will know what he does well in the fight and he knows what he does bad in the fight. Obviously, he knows that Andy Ruiz Jr. is a lot tougher than he looks. And if you knock him down, instead of backing up to the ropes like many opponents of Anthony Joshua do, he's going to come forward and try and land on Anthony Joshua. I believe that when Andy Ruiz Jr. got hurt in that fight and dropped in the third round, he saw it as an opportunity. He didn't think he's going to come in and finish me off now. He didn't think that. He thought, okay, this is an opportunity to land some punches myself. He's going to come in and try and finish me so I can get on the inside, because he will be letting his guard down. And that is what Andy Ruiz Jr. done. Anthony Joshua's defense went completely out of the window, as the one thing on his mind was knock Andy Ruiz Jr. out. I've got him hurt, so finish him off. And that worked to Andy Ruiz Jr.'s advantage, because that allowed him to get on the inside when Anthony Joshua's guard was down and land that big punch that hurt Anthony Joshua. The one punch that Anthony Joshua could not recover from. They say in heavyweight boxing it takes one punch, and Anthony Joshua previously explained that it was a punch from the gods, a lucky punch. Now, I agree with the fact that it was a punch from the gods. I don't think it was such a lucky punch, because Andy Ruiz Jr. threw the same punch that landed on the chin. It did not move Anthony Joshua, but the second punch landed higher on the head, in a place a lot harder to take a punch, and that is what hurt Anthony Joshua, and he was unable to recover. So one punch did change the course of the fight. One punch did lead up to the 7th round KO, because Anthony Joshua never recovered from it. That is why Andy Ruiz Jr. was able to get the victory. So in the rematch, Anthony Joshua, if he hurts Andy Ruiz Jr., don't expect him to jump on him. He will need to jab him and pick his punches to get Andy Ruiz Jr. out of there. Make sure that Andy Ruiz Jr. does not recover, but also make sure that he does not rush in and try and finish a man who is not ready to go yet, or allow the guy the opportunity to get on the inside, just as he done last time. But anyway guys, what are your thoughts on this? Anthony Joshua explaining his demeanour in the ring walk and in the ring before the fight begun. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.